Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you're watching. It's your girl Juice. And I just wanted to take a moment to, oh my goodness, take a step back from all the stuff that we've been listening to and just kind of talk about something a little more refreshing. And for me, that is always Mr. Rogers. You know, we all long to feel loved and accepted for who we are. We all want to be seen and comforted in our distress. It feels soothing and it's so affirming. You know, emotional support is just, it's like this, just a good sign of secure attachment. So, when you know your well being matters to someone, that is a mark of a secure attachment. And when we have secure attachments, we grow up and we feel safe. We feel like we can self advocate. We can understand we are when we are in danger, or the opposite when we're in a very comforting and loving place. And so, as a reminder of just why we're here, why we exist, what the things that are important in life, I wanted to just go over this commencement address that Mr. Rogers did back in 2002. And I'll try not to interrupt too much, but I'll be back with my commentary because this is well, I don't want to say it's very educational only. What I want to say is it continues to be educational for us as adults. Mr. Rogers is just, I just really, he's my guy. R.I.P. Mr. Rogers. And let's go. Let's,
Wow. What a privilege to be with you all. And since I've arrived here in Hanover, many people have greeted me by saying, "It's a beautiful day in this neighborhood." Well, indeed, it is a beautiful day. But before I begin, I'd like you to know that I recognize that you who live and work here have had many days, particularly during these last several months, that have been far from beautiful. You've had a painful time and you've handled it with dignity. I feel certain that the Zen Tops's generous spirits inspire you, and it's a great privilege for me to be with you all. When I was at Dartmouth in the late 1940s, the tuition, room, and board all added up to $1,100 a year. Nobody owned a home computer, and hardly anyone had a television set. And those who did, there was a choice of 3 channels. I'm not sure if Jean Shaheen was even born yet, but very few people would have guessed that within 50 years, a woman would be governor of New Hampshire. Yes, when I was here, the first word of the alma mater was men. Men of Dartmouth, give a rouse. Well, now the first word is dear. Some things change for the better. Cool. During my first year here, I lived right over there at 101 Middle Mass, and I had 2 roommates. I had a professor over there who did his best to scare everyone in his class. And he gave me the lowest grade that I ever had in any school anywhere. But I also had an astronomy professor, George Dimitrov, who looked for and found what was best in each of his students. When I look at the night sky, I still think of that extra special kind man. Dartmouth is many things to each of us. And I'm grateful to Jim and Susan Wright for all that they have done for this school. And I'm grateful to my old friend Chick Coop for all that he has done for all of us. And
And I just wanted to pause here because I've always loved how Mr. Rogers speaks slowly, lets you digest, he pauses to let you digest the information. Uh-oh. Let you digest the information. And it's just always a just wonderful, soothing time when I listen to Mr. Rogers.
I congratulate every one of you who is being honored in any way during this commencement weekend. Our world hangs like a magnificent jewel in the vastness of space. Every one of us is a part of that jewel, a facet of that jewel. And in the perspective of infinity, our differences are infinitesimal. We are intimately related. May we never even pretend that we are not. Have you heard my favorite story that came from the Seattle Special Olympics? Well, for the 100-yard dash, there were 9 contestants, all of them so-called physically or mentally disabled. All 9 of them assembled at the starting line, and at the sound of the gun, they took off. But not long afterward, one little boy stumbled and fell and hurt his knee and began to cry. The other 8 children heard him crying. They slowed down, turned around, and ran back to him. Every one of them ran back to him. One little girl with Down syndrome bent down and kissed the boy and said, "This'll make it better." And the little boy got up, and he and the rest of the runners linked their arms together and joyfully walked to the finish line. They all finished the race at the same time.
That is also my favorite story that I have ever heard Mr. Rogers tell. And I do remember seeing a clip of this. However, this is where we falter. Not all of us, but some of us falter. And I realized that for me, with things that were going on close to me, that we are all interconnected. And I cannot understand why, when one or another of us fall, we don't pick each other up. Instead, we pick each other apart. Yes, I am talking about a lot of scenarios, but what's on my heart right now when I think of that is just how my idea of my own hometown has just been destroyed because everyone didn't want to come together. But this is not just about that. This is seems to be the thought process, self-preservation, and not uplifting each other, not stopping to help that person that stumbled, not looking at that person that's homeless like, ew, you need to get a job, because we never know what a person is going through.
And when they did, everyone in that stadium stood up and clapped and whistled and cheered for a long, long time. People who were there are still telling the story with great delight. And you know why. Because deep down, we know that what matters in this life is more than winning for ourselves. What really matters is helping others win too, even if it means slowing down and changing our course now and then. Anicius Manlius Severinus Boethius, what a name, was the last of the great Roman philosophers and the first of the scholastics of the Middle Ages. 1,500 years ago, Boethius wrote this sentence: O happy race of mortals, if your hearts are ruled, as is the universe, by love. I was once invited to sit in on a master class of 6 young cellists from the Pittsburgh Youth Symphony Orchestra. The master teacher was Yo-Yo Ma. Now, Yo-Yo is the most other-oriented genius I've ever known. His music comes from a very deep place within his being. And during that master class, Yo-Yo gently led those young cellists into understandings about their instruments, their music, and their selves, which some of them told me later they'd carry with them forever. I can still see the face of one young man who had just finished playing a movement of Brahms' cello sonata when Yo-Yo said, nobody else can make the sound you make. Of course, he meant that as a compliment to the young man. Nevertheless, he meant that also for everyone in the class. Nobody else can make the sound you make. Nobody else can choose to make that particular sound in that particular way. I'm very much interested in choices and what it is and who it is that enable us human beings to make the choices we make all through our lives.
Deep. That's deep on a number of levels for me because, you know, a lot of times the choices that we make are based on things that we just inherently believe because it was handed down to us. Sometimes we make choices based on the need to be attached to a group and not feel isolated. So we make a decision because there's an echo chamber of people saying the same thing and we don't dare question it. I mean, and this becomes more important as you become an adult. The freedom to make your own choices without any type of uh, people trying to force ideas on you or force choices on you. That should always be a red flag. If there's a rush where you're not able to make your own decisions, any type of urgency for me is always a red flag. But when people are trying to influence you without letting you uh, look at everything that you need to look at to be informed, and that's a contract. Hey, when you enter into the YouTube field, you got to just read the terms of service before you go signing your name. So we really need to ensure that our choices are based on what we believe and our morals, and we should always think about whether or not the choices that we're making would hurt someone else. And I'm going to let Mr. Rogers continue.
What choices lead to ethnic cleansing? What choices lead to healing? What choices lead to the destruction of the environment, the erosion of the Sabbath, suicide bombings, or teenagers shooting teachers? What choices encourage heroism in the midst of chaos? I have a lot of framed things in my office which people have given to me through the years, and on my walls are Greek and Hebrew and Russian and Chinese, and beside my chair is a French sentence from Saint-Exupéry's Little Prince. It reads, L'essentiel est invisible pour les yeux. What is essential is invisible to the eye. Well, what is essential about you? And who are those who have helped you become the person you are? Anyone who has ever graduated from a college, anyone who has ever been able to sustain a good work, has had at least one person, and often many, who have believed in him or her. We just don't get to be competent human beings without a lot of different investments from others.
Amen.
I'd like to give you all an invisible gift, a gift of a silent minute to think about those who have helped you become who you are today. Some of them may be here right now. Some may be far away. Some, like my astronomy professor, may even be in heaven. But wherever they are, if they've loved you and encouraged you and wanted what was best in life for you, they're right inside yourself. And I feel that you deserve quiet time on this special occasion to devote some thought to them. So let's just take a minute in honor of those who have cared about us all along the way. One silent minute.
And we are going to take the minute with Mr. Rogers. I just wanted to really, really encourage people to think upon that. Who are the ones that have helped you? And the other thought that resonates with me is Mr. Rogers saying that we need a variety of different uh, experiences, people, and things to pour into us to help us feel connected and grow into the best versions of ourselves. I believe that That is something that is lacking just in general. And I don't mean in every space. I guess let me pause right here. First, I'll say, hey, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, all that. But just wanted to really stop and say right here that I guess I have to put a disclaimer that I'm not talking about all. Okay, I'm not talking about all of anything. So if it's not your experience, it's not your experience. One of my pet peeves is if I didn't say all people are not connected or all people, then some assume that I'm talking about all. So there's that disclaimer, and lest I say all people, I mean to whomever it may apply. Now, moving on, as we take this silent moment to think about the people who have helped us along this journey, maybe really take a moment to think about that. Who is helped? I'm so grateful for all of the experiences that I've had throughout my life, even small ones that I didn't realize helped to shape who I am today.
Whomever you've been thinking about, imagine how grateful they must be that during your silent times you remember how important they are to you. It's not the honors and the prizes and the fancy outsides of life which ultimately nourish our souls. It's the knowing that we can be trusted, that we never have to fear the truth, that the bedrock of our lives from which we make our choices is very good stuff. There's a neighborhood song that is meant for the child in each of us. And I'd like to give you the words of that song right now. It's you I like. It's not the things you wear. It's not the way you do your hair, but it's you I like. The way you are right now, the way down deep inside you. Not the things that hide you, not your caps and gowns, they're just beside you. But it's you I like, every part of you, your skin, your eyes, your feelings, whether old or new. I hope that you remember, even when you're feeling blue, that it's you I like, it's you yourself, it's you, it's you I like. And what that ultimately means, of course, is that you don't ever have to do anything sensational for people to love you. When I say it's you I like, I'm talking about that part of you that knows that life is far more than anything you can ever see or hear or touch. That deep part of you that allows you to stand for those things without which humankind cannot survive. Love that conquers hate, peace that rises triumphant over war, and justice that proves more powerful than greed. So, in all that you do, in all of your life, I wish you the strength and the grace to make those choices which will allow you and your neighbor to become the best of whoever you are. Congratulations to you all.
Now, that was so beautiful and so moving and so relevant to our adult lives. I mean, I know for me, I am so grateful that as a child, I grew up with Mr. Rogers. I am so very grateful that I was able to hear these real life messages and understand them even more as an adult. I understood them as Mr. Rogers explained them as a 5-year old, but to look back and just say, you know what, if we all just watched an episode of Mr. Rogers, yes, and at this time I said all, if we all just take a moment to watch an episode of Mr. Rogers before we go out and start our day, I wonder if that would make our days just a little bit better. But as I close, I really want to remind myself, as well as anyone whose heart, head, and spirit is open, to remember others, to remember that people stumble and sometimes they just need a helping hand, you know. Sometimes they just need a kind word. Sometimes they just need for their core group to sit down and talk to them. And isn't that what life is about? Choosing compassion? I know it's not very easy all the time, but it is a muscle. And just like if you exercise, if you exercise that kindness muscle, exercise that compassion muscle, it gets stronger and stronger. So I hope that this has resonated with someone. I hope this has touched you in a way that makes you feel better, makes you feel good about going out in the day, whether that's for yourself or to help someone else. And ultimately, I just hope it brightens your day to just have something a little bright in your timeline because there is hope. And I would love to talk more about these issues, which I wouldn't say use that in a bad way. So I guess maybe I should not use that term issues, but have these conversations around things like this because a lot, again, a lot of us, if even if we did watch Mr. Rogers somewhere along, life's journey, we have forgotten what really matters. And I just want to bring that back to the forefront. Until next time, you know what it is. I am always sending love and light.